Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvardhari. Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। गंगा श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जय। श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
Narayanam Namaskritya.
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
ततो जयमुदीरयेत्।
Tato Jayamudirye.
श्रवतां स्वकथा कृष्ण
Shravtam Sakatha Krishna.
पुण्यश्रवण कीर्तनः
Punya Shravana Kirtana.
हृदयन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि
Hridayantasto Bhadrani.
विधुनोति स्वसताम्
Vidunoti Suritsatam.
नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु
Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu.
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya.
भगवते उत्तम श्लोके
Bhagavatiruttam Shloke.
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
Bhakti Bhakti Naishtiki.
Hare Krishna. So today we'll be covering Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10th canto, chapter 8. Lord Krishna shows the universal form. And this chapter is also titled in some of the translations as Lord Krishna shows the universal form within his mouth. So it's not the same way it's depicted as he showed his universal form to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. In the previous class, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10th canto, chapter 7, we heard about the killing of the demon Trinavarta, which represents the various kind of pride that one accumulates because of high level of knowledge and high positions and so forth. So in this chapter, we come to very subtle yet very interesting pastimes, and we will be discussing 4 major areas in this particular chapter. So let's start with the first verse, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 10th canto, chapter 8, verse 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha
Shri Shukuvacha
Garga Purohito Rajan
Garga Purohito Rajan
Yadunam Samahatapaha
Yadunam Samahatapa
Vrajam Jagam Nandasya
Rajam Jagam Nandasya
Vasudeva Prachoditaha
Vasudeva Prachodita Shri Shukuvacha
Shri Shuka Uvacha
Garga Purohito Rajan
Garga Purohito Rajan
Yadunam Sumahatapa
Yadunam Sumahatapaha
Vrajam Jagam Nandasya
Vrajam Jagam Nandasya
Vasudeva Prachodita
Vasudeva Prachoditaha. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shukuvacha
Shri Shukdev Goswami said,
Shri Shukdev Goswami said,
Gargaha, Gargamuni, Purohitaha,
Purohita,
the priest, Rajan, O King Parikshit, Yadunam, of the Yadu dynasty, Sumahatapaha, highly elevated in austerity and penance, Vrajam, to the village known as Vrajbhumi, Jagam, went, Nandasya, of Maharaj Nanda, Vasudeva Prachoditaha, being inspired by Vasudeva. Translation by His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shukdev Goswami said, O Maharaj Parikshit, the priest of the Yadu dynasty, namely Gargamuni, who was highly elevated in austerity and penance, was then inspired by Vasudeva to go see Nanda Maharaj at his home. There is no purpose, so we'll cover a few more verses. Verse 2. When Nanda Maharaj saw Gargamuni present at his home, Nanda was so pleased that he stood up to receive him with folded hands. Although seeing Gargamuni with his eyes, Nanda Maharaj could appreciate that Gargamuni was a Dhukshaja, that is, he was not an ordinary person seen by material senses. Verse 3. When Gargamuni had been properly received as a guest and was very comfortably seated, Nanda Maharaj submitted with gentle and submissive words, Dear sir, because you are a devotee, you are full of everything. Yet my duty is to serve you. Kindly order me, what can I do for you? Verse 4. O my Lord, O great devotee, persons like you move from one place to another not for their own interests, but for the sake of poor-hearted grahasthas, householders. Otherwise, they have no interest in going from one place to another. Purport. As factually stated by Nanda Maharaj, Gargamuni, being a devotee, had no needs. Similarly, when Kṛṣṇa comes, he has no needs, for he is Purna, Atmaram. Nonetheless, he descends to this material world to protect the devotees and vanquish miscreants. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. This is the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and devotees also have the same mission. One who executes this mission of para-upkara, performing welfare activities for people in general, is recognized by Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as being very, very dear to him. Nacha tasman manushyeshu kaschin me priya kruptamaha. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has advised this parupkar, and he has specially advised the inhabitants of India. Bharat bhrumite hay manushya janma yara, janma sathak kari kara par upkara. One who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India, Bharatvash, should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 9, verse 41. On the whole, the duty of a Vaishnava devotee is to act for the welfare of others. Nand Maharaj could understand that Garg Muni had come for this purpose and that his own duty now was to act according to Garg Muni's advice. Thus he said, "Please tell me what is my duty." This should be the attitude of everyone, especially the householder. The Varnashram society is organized into 8 divisions: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. Nand Maharaj represented himself as Grahinam, a householder. A brahmachari factually has no needs, but Grahis, householders, are engaged in sense gratification. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.44, Bhogeshvarya Prasaktanam Taya Prahatta Chetasam. Everyone has come to this material world for sense gratification, and the position of those who are too attached to sense gratification and who therefore accept the Grahastha ashram is very precarious. Since everyone in this material world is searching for sense gratification, Grahasthas are required to be trained as Mahat, great Mahatmas. Therefore, Nand Maharaj specially used the word Mahad Vachalanam. Garg Muni had no interest to serve by going to Nand Maharaj, but Nand Maharaj as a Grahastha was always perfectly ready to receive instructions from a Mahatma to gain the real benefit in life. Thus he was ready to execute Garg Muni's order. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripataraham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So this is a very beautiful chapter, and in the purport, as is revealed, that Garg Muni, being a devotee, had no purpose. And just like Krishna, he was Purna Atmaram. Atmaramascha manya nirgantara urukarme kuruvanti hatukim bhakti mittam bhuta guru hari. So the Atmarams, one who is fully satisfied within oneself, such munis, such personalities who are fully satisfied within themselves, are constantly engaged in the devotional service, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they are constantly serving the Lord, and this is also an attraction that Adukshaja. So again, Lord is so attractive that he even attracts the Atmarams, ones who are fully satisfied. And one of the important aspects is Paritranaya Sadhuna Vinashaya Cha Dushkrita. So when Lord Krishna descends to this world, he is constantly looking to benefit the devotees, to protect the devotees and to annihilate the miscreants. So that is the purpose, that's the mission of the Lord. And so the devotees of the Lord help him in his mission, so they continue to do the same activities. And they always choose life. So again, when there is a choice given, they always choose life. They always choose, to elevate others in spiritual progress. And Bharat Bhumite Haya Manushya Janma Yara. So Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is advising that one should make his life successful by doing parupkara. And how do you do parupkara? So there's a very nice play in Prabhupada's time the devotees used to do. And they did this play at New York Times Square as well, where they were showing that one person is drowning, one of the devotees showing that he is drowning, and another devotee, very proudly shouts, "Don't worry, I will save you." And he, shows that, okay, he's swimming into this river to save the devotee, the person, the one who is drowning, and he brings the coat back and says, "Yes, here, I have saved the person." So that is only the material body. But what about the soul? It is important to save the soul. That is the essence in that particular story. So again, we should focus on helping people spiritually progress instead of just trying to make them comfortably materially. Of course, there is an aspect that when one is materially comfortable, then they become, ready to get to the next step. But again, there is a difference between need and wants. So if you fulfill someone's need, that's great. But if you are seeking to fulfill someone's want, you will never be satisfied, because there is enough in this world to meet everyone's need, but there is not enough to meet even one person's greed. So here, Vasudeva has incited Gargamuni to go to visit Vrajbhumi, to Nand Maharaj's palace. And Gargamuni is the family priest of the Yadu dynasty. And as we covered in the previous chapters, that Vasudeva and Nand Maharaj, they are half brothers, half cousins, right? They have the same father but different mothers. Nand Maharaj is born of a mother who is from the Vaishya family, while Vasudeva is born of a mother who is from a Kshatriya family. And so Vasudeva, he also marries Devaki, who is from a Kshatriya family, while Nand Maharaj marries Yashoda, who is from a Vaishya family. So similarly, they are brothers and cousins and very good friends as well. So in that mood, they are, they met in the previous chapter before Putanava, we heard, before the killing of demoness Putana, as how Nand Maharaj and Vasudeva, they met. And, very closely. So now Vasudeva, he is sending Gargamuni to Nand Maharaj's palace. Why? Why is he sending? Because being a priest, Nand Maharaj has now one son known as Kṛṣṇa, and Vasudeva's wife Rohini also gave birth to Balram, right? So now from that perspective, the Namkaran ceremony, the purificatory process needs to be conducted. So that's why he has sent Gargamuni. And as soon as Gargamuni comes and Nand Maharaj sees Gargamuni, he immediately gets up from his seat. And he immediately, with folded hands, approaches Gargamuni and says, I know you don't have any business, yet you have come, and that is your mercy. Right? So when a devotee goes to the materialistic man's, especially a householder's home, the householders immediately approach them with folded hands, paying obeisance, and say, what can I do? How can we serve you? So here, this is where Srila Prabhupada in the purport is instructing that this should be the attitude of everyone, especially the householder. So it's not just for the householders, it is for people who are students, people who are even devotees, they should be very delighted to receive another devotee. So it is for everyone. Even for elderly, it is recommended that they should accept that when a devotee approaches, this is for their welfare, this is for their benefit. Because this is going to lead to Ishta Goshti, not Mushti Goshti, right? That should be the perspective. Instead of argumentative conversations, devotees engage in the conversations about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we have to also understand what is the scene. This is Shukdev Goswami is narrating this to Parikshit Maharaj, who is fasting on the bank of Ganges for 7 days. And later on, this whole narration is repeated by Sutta Goswami at Namasharanya, in front of the sages, and the sages are present. The head is Shaunaka Rishi. So all of them are relishing this pastime as how Nand Maharaj is receiving Gargamuni. And Gargamuni is also a great astrologer. And Nand Maharaj immediately realizes that Gargamuni has come and he is the priest of the Yadu dynasty. So he asks Gargamuni to perform the purificatory process for his sons, and his son as well as son of Rohini and Vasudeva. So at that time, Gargamuni immediately warns him. So this is also very important. So when you do something, you should not be emotionally driven. You should also be intelligent about things. You should think about it calmly and take instructions from the elevated source. Where Gargamuni instructs that if I have to perform this in a magnanimous manner, in a big ceremony, then Who would know? Who would come to know of this? Kans will come to know of this. So now Nand Maharaj has pleaded Garg Muni to perform the purificatory process for his son Kṛṣṇa as well as Rohini and Vasudev's son Balaram. At that time, Garg Muni warns him that it is not advised to do it in a pompous, in a grand manner. So at that time, Nanda Maharaj understanding why is that? Because Garg Muni clearly says that Kansa is a diplomat, and from the daughter of Devaki, which is again Yog Maya, when she announced to Kans that one who is supposed to kill you has already taken birth somewhere else. So that could be an excuse used by Kans, and he would cause some disturbance for Nand Maharaj, thinking that it is Kṛṣṇa or Balaram who has been born as the eighth son of Devaki. So at that time, understanding the message of Garg Muni, Nand Maharaj requests him, then why don't you perform this purificatory ceremony and the name giving ceremony in the cow shed? So very quietly this ceremony is being performed, and Garg Muni agrees to this. Having agreed to this, Garg Muni, who is a great astrologer, first gives the name to the older one, who happens to be the son of Rohini and Vasudev. This is Balaram. And the first name he gives him is Ram, because he is attracting everyone and inducing everyone with transcendental bliss. So that's why his name is Ram. Then he gives him another name, Bala, because he has great strength. He's very powerful. So his another name is Bal. And devotees combinedly call him Balram. So Baldev is the second name. And then the third name he gives is because he would bring the family of Vasudev and the family of Nand Maharaj very close, right? Because Rohini had taken shelter of Nand Maharaj. She was living in the house of Nand Maharaj with Nand Maharaj and Yashoda Mai. So she has this son, Balram, and he is going to bring the two families very close. That's why his name is Sankarshan, one who attracts. Akarshan, from that is Sankarshan, one who attracts the two Sanghas, Sankarshan. Then Garg Muni starts to name Kṛṣṇa. So the first name he gives is, he is basically saying that this son of yours is equal to Narayan. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that actually Lord Kṛṣṇa is, he is the cause of Narayan. He is Sarvakaran Karana. So he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ete chans kalha pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Loke Mridayanti Yoge Yoge. So Garg Muni even gives indication on this verse that, Ete chans kalha pumsa. So all these expansions, the Vishnu Tattvas, that are expansions of Lord Kṛṣṇa. And Lord Kṛṣṇa is the Bhagavan Swayam, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Indrari Vyakulam Loke, and at any time there are disturbances, Indrari, by the enemies of Indra, the king of the demigods, Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. He appears millennium after millennium. So that is the purport. Once again, this is where Garg Muni is revealing to Nand Maharaj that his son is equal to Narayan. And as given in the scriptures, he also says that he has taken many births and he has appeared in many forms. And also he says that sometimes he is born as the son of Vasudev. So his first name he gives is Vasudev. Vasudev has two meanings. First meaning is the son of Vasudev, and then the second meaning is one who is present everywhere. One whose Vas is, presence. So the one who is present everywhere. And Lord is present everywhere in the form of Kshirodakshai Vishnu, one of his portion of his plenary expansion. And then the second name is Kṛṣṇa. And then the third name he gives is to represent a pastime that's going to happen in the future. That third name is Giridhari, the one who holds Giri, And what is that? Which Giri are we talking about?
Govardhan Hill.
Govardhan Hill. So, this is where it is also revealed in the purport that Prabhupada says that he is a great astrologer. Gagmuni is a great astrologer. And Rishabdev, he has given this. Na sadhu manye yata atmano ayam vasan api kleshada asadehaha. Bhagavatam 5.5.4. Although this body is temporary, as long as we have to live in this body, we must suffer. So this is revealing that even though, we have this material body, so again, let's not divert, but again, there is an indication given here by various miseries that happen in this material world. And Lord appears and his devotees appear in this material world to annihilate the miscreants and to protect the devotees. So, the living entities in this material world, they are constantly going through miseries. The threefold miseries, what are those?
Adi-Devik, Adi-Bhautik,
And Adhyatmic. So, Adi Bhautik is from the other living entities. So currently we see, there are other living entities, the various kinds of viruses. COVID-19 virus is what is causing havoc. Yet at the same time, we will also hear near the end of the chapter what is the solution, what is the real solution. And but in material world, everyone is suffering. Rishabdev reveals earlier in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that everyone is suffering. And Adi Devik is the suffering that comes because of the natural disturbances by the demigods, like tsunamis, you have floods happening and so forth, the natural disturbances, hurricanes and so forth. Then you have Adi Bhautik, which is from other living entities, and Adhyatmic is the miseries caused by one's own mind. And this has the snowball effect, right? We talked about it in the last few classes, that Adhyatmic is where one should be very careful. And how do you try to control your mind? The process is very simple. Simply by chanting, one can control the mind. Mantra means man and tra, one that delivers the mind. And we have Maha Mantra. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And Maha Mantra is non-different, the name is non-different from the Lord. So we take shelter of the Lord and we take shelter of the Naam, Harinam. So, as we live in this material world, we constantly have to suffer, right? And we constantly seek shelter of the Lord to overcome these miseries. And Srila Prabhupada reveals in the purport that Tehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantar praptir dhiras tatrana muhyati. Tehino asmin yatha dehe. So the living entity who is residing in this body, kaumaram yauvanam jara, goes through the changing of the body. Sometimes people refer to it as growing of the body, but it's not growing of the body. Srila Prabhupada very strongly, advocated this idea and this message that we are constantly changing the bodies. We are getting the body from kaumaram yauvanam jara, from the childhood to youth to old age. Tatha dehanta prapti. And after giving up this body, dhiras tatrana muhyati. A sober person is not bewildered, because that is the normal course of time. Yet at the same time, we should continue to do our duties. And of all the duties, it is very important to do the duties which is for the soul. Jivera sarupaya Kṛṣṇera nityadas, Kṛṣṇera tatastha shakti veda prakash. What is the constitutional position of a living entity? Kṛṣṇera nityadas. He is an eternal servant of Lord Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇera tatastha shakti. He is the tatastha is at the bank, which is the marginal energy. So living entity is the marginal energy of the Lord, Veda prakash. And this is where Achintya Veda Tattva philosophy comes in. that we are simultaneously one and different from the Lord, because we are qualitatively one with the Lord, but quantitatively we are different. We are infinitesimal while Lord is infinite. So some of the examples, some of the analogies is given is with respect to the ocean, right? If Lord is the ocean, then we are just a drop of the ocean. But the drop of the ocean has the same quality as the water in the ocean. So that is where this comes in. So world is constantly changing, and it is also changing the way we live. Yet at the same time, devotees are like the stock market stockbrokers. An intelligent stockbroker, intelligent person in the stock market, makes profit when the market is down and makes profit when the market is up. So a devotee continues to advance spiritually and constantly engage in devotional service when everything is going favorably, but makes more advancement when everything is going unfavorably, because he seeks shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Kṛṣṇa. And Srila Prabhupada also advises in this particular chapter that Brahmanas are required to guide the whole society, otherwise there will be chaos. It is very important for the society to take shelter of a Brahmana. And what does a Brahmana mean? Brahmana means a Vaishnava, a devotee of Lord Vishnu. So that is where the purpose of life will be solved, when one takes shelter of devotees, advanced devotees, who can provide us the proper guidance, and we can continue to advance in our spiritual progress. Why is it important to advance in spiritual progress? So Srila Prabhupada gave this example with the example of a bird cage and a bird. So if someone has a golden bird cage and they are just cleaning up the bird cage every day, is it going to solve the purpose? Because the bird inside is not getting any food, any water. So the bird would die. So one should not just take care of the body by satisfying the senses, but also take care of the soul, the bird in the cage. It is very important to focus. And this material world is called pavarga. So there are different kind of vargas. When we study the Hindi letters, Devanagari Lipi. So the vargas, there is Ka varga, Cha varga, and so forth, comes pavarga. And why is material world called pavarga? It's from the materialist perspective. It reveals the material mindset. Pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. Pa represents parishram. So Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in the second chapter, he reveals this pavarga aspect. And according to the Sanskrit grammar, these 5 vargas, of them the pavarga, where pa means parishram, which is hard labor. So one engages, a materialist engages in hard labor, and similarly pa means pena, which is foaming. So when you are engaging in hard labor, foaming happens in your mouth. And this is seen in case of horses and other animals. When you engage them in heavy work, foam comes out of their mouth. And then pa, ba. Ba is Brahma. So one gets bewildered. So when so much parishram is happening or so much foaming is happening, one gets bewildered in this material world, because there is a phantasmagoria. The mirage is created. When you work very hard, then you will have great fruits you will gain, and then you will live very nicely. However, with constant endeavor in material gains and satisfying the senses, one is bewildered. While he is foaming because he is engaged in hard labor. And when bewildered, one immediately becomes fearful. That's bha. Bha means bhay. Bhay means fearful. One enters a fearful state. And living in this state of constantly doing hard labor, foaming in the mouth, getting bewildered again and again, and then in constant fear, one is living, and finally ma happens, and ma represents mrityu, one dies. And one continues, a materialist continues in the cycle of birth and death constantly, doing this pavarga in this material world. So that is being represented. So it's very important for us to understand this. And for devotees, the opposite of fear is love. And devotees, how do they induce love? Because love, when there is love, there is no fearfulness. One is not fearful of any situation. There is no anxiety. And love is invoked simply by chanting of the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And that is the yajna for this age, Sankirtan yajna, the congregational chanting of the holy name. So, Srila Jiva Goswami in his book, Kṛṣṇa has enunciated the purport of this verse, where Krishna appears in different forms, either as white, red or yellow, because Gargamuni he reveals that the son of yours, who is as good as Narayan, has also appeared in the past in different colors. The Bhagavatam says, Krite Shuklas Chaturbahu Tretayam Rakta Varna Asu Dwapare Bhagwan Shamaha and Krishna Vardam Trisha Krishnam. So in Krita Yuga, he appeared as Shuklash Chaturbahu. Yet at the same time in the Tretayam, Rakta Varna Asu. So again, in red color he appears. And Dwapare he appears as Shama, in dark complexion, the rainy cloud complexion, the bluish. And Krishna, who appears as Pita form in yellow, is also revealed in Bhagavatam. Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Pashadam Yagya Sankirtana Prayah Yajanti Hi Sumedhasaha. Bhagavatam 11.5.32. So this is where Lord Gaurachandra, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appears in the golden complexion, while all other incarnations are within him, right? He is none other than Krishna. Yet at the same time his color is yellow. And why is he yellow? Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi. So it is Bahar Radha Antar Krishna. So outside it is Radharani, so the complexion is that of Radharani, while inside it is Krishna, who is appearing in the form of his devotees. So when Gargamuni, he performs this name-giving ceremony in the cowshed of at Nand Maharaj's palace, very quietly this is performed, and then he leaves. And Nand Maharaj is in transcendental bliss. Hearing that his son is non-different than Narayan, and that he will be very auspicious to all the cowherd men, to all the Vraj Bhumi. He will be extremely auspicious, and if there are any disturbances, he will be providing solutions. So now Nand Maharaj, he realizes that he has been very fortunate, and he considers himself very fortunate hearing about all this. So astrology is also very important, and devotees, we pay attention to this science because it's a science, and it is to help us understand what is coming so that we can prepare ourselves to continue to advance spiritually. So it is not that, oh, this is going to happen. We are not fatalist. We try to understand the future with the understanding how we can look at the situation and see how we can advance spiritually. So currently there is this COVID-19, coronavirus everywhere. Yet at the same time, devotees are taking this as an opportunity to constantly chant some extra rounds, right? We are trying to chant as much as possible. We are trying to do as much kirtan as possible with our children sitting around, as well as we try to read scriptures as much as possible. This is taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, constantly immersing ourselves in love so that that fear doesn't even come close to us. So once he leaves, Nand Maharaj, he is in complete bliss. And again, sometimes this question is raised. So one of the questions that was raised in the last time, that does Tranavarta and other demons, they constantly appear in the pastimes of the Lord. So in this regard, I did some research, and there are actually two types of pastimes when Krishna appears. The eternal pastimes versus occasional pastimes. So Lord Krishna appears with his eternal associates, right? The cowherd men, the cowherd ladies, the gopis, Nand Maharaj and Yashoda. And it is also revealed after Vashudeva Goswami reveals to Parikshit Maharaj that Nand Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, they are the eternal father and mother of Lord Krishna. So many of the pastimes are called Nitya, which means eternal, and some pastimes are called Naimittika. So Naimittika pastimes are the occasional pastimes. That's what Naimittika means. So in Golok Vrindavan, Krishna's Nitya Leela, eternal pastimes, they are conducted throughout the 8 periods of the day. There are 8 periods. So 4 periods happen during the day and 4 periods during the night. So during those 8 periods, approximately each period is 3 hours. 8 periods are 24. So Nitya Leela, the eternal pastimes are constantly appearing and they are constantly in motion. But in Bhauma Vrindavan, so in the spiritual Vrindavan, the constant pastimes are happening, which are Nitya Leela. But in Bhauma, which is in the material world, the reflection of those pastimes in the Vrindavan, Bhauma Vrindavan, this Ashtakaliya Leela is mixed with the Naimittika Leela, or to live in. So there are some occasional pastimes that happen, and these occasional pastimes include Krishna's living Vrindavan, because Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, as Acharyas have revealed. He never leaves Vrindavan. Another thing that Acharyas revealed had that Krishna is constantly enjoying with his devotees. So it is not Krishna who is killing the demons, it is the Vishnu in Krishna who is killing the demons. So as we also heard from the Vishnu Puran earlier, that when Vasudeva brought his son Vasudeva Krishna, then Krishna is also having Vasudeva Krishna. It's Vasudeva Krishna who is killing these demons, who is the Vishnu. So again, from Krishna, the first expansion is Balram. And from Balram, there are 4 expansions, right? Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. So it is these 4 who are not different from Krishna are carrying out the management of this material world, material universes. And so they are the ones who are taking care of the occasional pastimes, who are participating and driving the occasional pastimes. So this name-giving ceremony of Gargamuni coming has both in it, yet at the same time when we hear about the killing of the demons, right? Or when we hear about Krishna leaving Vrindavan and Krishna coming back to Vrindavan to visit Vrindavan Vasis, those are the occasional pastimes, the Naimittika Leela. And Acharyas have also revealed that devotees understand these occasional pastimes, the Naimittika Leelas, to be like the negatively tinted reflections. So these are tinted reflections of the eternal pastimes. So they are not the perverted reflections, but they are tinted because they are hiding the true pastimes that are actually happening, where Krishna is constantly engaging in loving exchanges with his devotees. And this is where this chapter takes into, where Krishna, as a baby, he is crawling. So again, Krishna and Balaram, they are dragging themselves. And when they are dragging themselves, they sometimes come to the muddy area, little wet muddy area, which is caused by the cow dung and the urine of the cows. Now, in the materialistic perspective, people think that cow dung and cow urine is very dirty and it's impure, but from Vedic perspective and from spiritual perspective, these are considered very pure. Even to purify a place, a cow dung is smeared. And when Krishna was attacked so many times, we hear that he is given bath of cow urine, so that it wards off any negative effect. So Krishna and Balaram, as they are dragging their bodies, trying to showing to the devotees, like all the Vrindavan Vasis or the Brajbhumis in this particular case, they are dragging their bodies and they are getting smeared in the cow dung, in the urine, in the mud. And at that time, Yashoda Mai and Rohini Mata, they immediately pick them up, and looking at them, these Krishna and Balaram, they look so beautiful to them that they have milk coming out, and because of the transcendental love they are feeling towards them, they start to feed. And at that time, Krishna and Balaram, they start to drink milk from their mothers, and as they are drinking the milk, they smile, right? Because the child becomes happy when they are satisfied. And as they smile, their small teeth, they appear. And the mothers are counting their teeth and they're feeling transcendental bliss. They're becoming more blissful. So the transcendental bliss continues to increase, navinanam. So again, constantly increases during these pastimes. Sometimes it is said that Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, they are drying themselves, and they did not crawl much. They started taking control, holding different objects. They started to, showing that they are learning to walk. And so, as they're walking, sometimes they hear other cowherd ladies, and they would hold their clothes and the saris and and try to walk with them. And then suddenly, these ladies would turn around and say, "Oh, look, Kṛṣṇa and Balaram are here, and they're walking with us." So they immediately show that they're afraid and they're looking for their mother, and seeing that them in this situation, Rohini and Mother Yashoda, they would immediately run and pick them up and hold them close to themselves and feed them milk and so forth. So it's very transcendental, very melodious pastimes that are constantly happening during all 8 periods of the day in the spiritual world, and that is also being reflected. So this is the Nitya Leela that can continue to occur in the spiritual world and also on the Bhauma Vrindavan. So these eternal pastimes are continuing. And then there is another occasional pastime happens, that once Kṛṣṇa, as he was playing with other boys, and Kṛṣṇa, as he's growing up, it is shown, as Shukdev Goswami is narrating to Parikshit Maharaj, this transcendental pastimes of Lord Kṛṣṇa, the Leelas, where as a baby he's growing up, and as he grows up, his naughtiness increases, right? So as they were growing up, sometimes as they were trying to even learn to walk, they would hold on to the calves' tails, and calves, thinking that that they have been held by their tails, they would try to run, and as they are running, Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, they would hold on to their tails even more strongly, and so the cows are running even more faster and faster. And seeing this, all the residents of Gokula, they are laughing and saying, "Look at Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, they are being dragged by these calves." And again the mothers would come and pick them up, and everyone would laugh and they would clap and they would enjoy this transcendental pastimes. And as Kṛṣṇa was growing up, he became more and more naughty, and we know Kṛṣṇa as, what is his another name? We call him as Makhan Chor, butter thief. So he would he had enough with his father. Nand Maharaj is the king of the Vaishyas, right? He's the king of the village in Gokula. And yet at the same time, Kṛṣṇa, he's showing that he's reciprocating with his eternal associates, with the gopis. And that is the love of the gopis when they keep the butter and yogurt at their home, the curd. So Kṛṣṇa goes and steals the curd and butter, and now these gopis, the elderly gopis, they would go to Mother Yashoda as if they are complaining, but they are actually relishing this pastime. And they are telling Yashoda Mai as how Kṛṣṇa is so naughty. And this narration is also very nice, where they are describing that Kṛṣṇa is so naughty that sometimes he would go, and before the cows are to be milked, he would release the calves. And what happens if you release the calf before the cow is milked? The cow's udder is full of milk, right? And it is ready to be milked, and then afterwards the man in the house, the cowherd man, would release the calf so that the calves can have after they have milked the cow. But once the calf is released before the cow is milked, the calf would drink all the milk. Now there is no more milk. And now the Kṛṣṇa would smile at the cowherd man, the head of the householders, that this is very nice, And the cowherd man would be very upset because their livelihood was dependent on Gauraksha and Vrishya. So again, the irrigation, the farming, as well as the protection of the cows. And they were using the milk to make butter and curd and so many nice things. So now there is no more milk, so they would get upset. So they are telling all this they are complaining it per se to Yashoda Mai and Nand Maharaj. And sometimes Kṛṣṇa, he would go and steal the butter and he would distribute this butter among the monkeys. And when the monkeys are full and Kṛṣṇa is full, and he would go with other cowherd boys. And Acharyas have explained that Balaram used to help Kṛṣṇa in his pastimes, right? So always Kṛṣṇa was the main hero per se, as we like to. He was the main person, he was the leader of the group, leading this stealing of butter and curd at different households in Brajbhumi, and he is stealing all this, right? And it is very nicely narrated that sometimes, if he would not find any milk or butter in the house, then what would he do? He would pinch the babies of those cowherd men and the ladies, and those babies, when they start crying, Kṛṣṇa would immediately leave. So he was very naughty that way also. He would disturb them. And also there are some of the pastimes where they say that Kṛṣṇa, Balaram, they are so intelligent, they are so expert in doing this. With the cowherd boys, they make these phalanxes. They climb one on top of another. And with the bodily rays, again, it is the Acharyas have explained that is the radiance, the Brahman from the body of Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, which is what the whole room is getting brightened in. So they enter the dark room, but the bodily effulgence causes the room to become fully lighted. But the gopis, the cowherd women, they are describing that it is the jewels that they are wearing. Because of the light, the effulgence coming out from these jewels, they are able to see the high-hanging pots of butter and yogurt, and they create these phalanxes of these cowherd boys, these boys, the young boys, and they climb on top, and then they break the pot. With their hands, they break the pot, and then they enjoy the butter and they spill it everywhere and give it to the monkeys and so forth. Now, why is Kṛṣṇa giving it to monkeys? Because earlier, when he appeared as Lord Ramchandra, the monkeys, the Vanasena, they helped him win over Lanka. So that's why he's reciprocating with them. So Kṛṣṇa is constantly reciprocating with his devotees. So as the pastime continues, and eternally these pastimes are going on in the spiritual world constantly. They are repeating and they're getting more and more melodious, more and more transcendental. The bliss is increasing, And then once it just so happens that, Balaram, along with other boys, come to Mother Yashoda and complain about Kṛṣṇa. And what's the complaint? That Kṛṣṇa has eaten the dirt, right? So at that time, Mother Yashoda, showing as if she's chastising, but she is chastising in a motherly mood. She has so much love for her son. She's chastising him and saying, "Did you eat? Why did you eat dirt?" And Kṛṣṇa is saying, "No, mother, I have not eaten dirt." Even when she used to say that, "Kṛṣṇa, why have you eaten the butter?" Kṛṣṇa is very commonly said, he is responding, "Maiya mori, main nahi makhan khayo." Oh my mother, I have not eaten butter. While his hand is smeared in butter and his face, is smeared in butter as well. There's butter all over his face. So that's been explained very nicely by the Acharyas, that in this particular case also he says that Balaram has joined those boys and they are complaining against me because he has switched the parties. He has become an opponent in this case. So Balaram is presenting the case that Kṛṣṇa has eaten dirt, and Mother Yashoda, she is asking in a motherly mood, feeling so much affection, looking at Kṛṣṇa, who is so beautiful, right? Kṛṣṇa is all attractive. Looking at him, and she's asking him, very nicely, and she says, "Why have you eaten?" And Kṛṣṇa says, "I have not eaten. If you want, you can check my, I'll open my mouth and you can check." And when Kṛṣṇa opens his mouth, that's when she sees the Lord's universal form. So again, this is where she sees all the universes, all the living entities and the non-living entities. She even sees herself. So in the previous chapter also we saw that she was, trying to make Kṛṣṇa sleep, and at that time also Kṛṣṇa shows universal form when he yawned at that time, and she immediately got out of it. In this particular case, it actually is elaborately explained that when she sees all this form, and she even sees herself and Kṛṣṇa and all the cowherd men, all the Brajbhumi, and all the different types of living entities, the varieties of living entities, the varieties of universes and planets and so forth. She's completely bewildered. Oh, what is this going on? And she's setting an example for devotees by this, that as soon as she sees all this, she immediately takes shelter of Lord Vishnu. She immediately takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She is saying, oh, am I dreaming? But I'm not dreaming because I'm wide awake and I am holding Kṛṣṇa in my hand. So I'm not dreaming. So is it some kind of illusion that's being played? But she's like, this is my son. And I'm seeing all these things. This is not illusion. I'm seeing all this variety. I'm even seeing myself. So acharyas have explained that she is, looking in different manners. She's not giving up her intelligence. She's trying to look at the situation, but at the same time, as soon as she realizes that it is beyond her capacity. So this is where Kṛṣṇa has removed the veil of Yogmaya from Mother Yashoda. And he is revealing himself to her. And she immediately takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is where she is exemplifying to us devotees that how we should constantly take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for things that are not in our control. Right? So that's how we should be looking at things. And when a devotee, he cannot ascertain the cause of the suffering, he concludes, Tatte anukampam susamikshmano bhunjani vatma kritam vibhakam hedvag vadurbhir vidadhan namaste jiveta yo mukti pade sadai bhak. The devotee accepts that it is due to his own past misdeeds that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has caused him some small amount of suffering. So when there is suffering, this is the mindset. And thus the devotee offers obeisances to the Lord again and again. Such a devotee is called Mukti Padesa Daibhak. That is, he is guaranteed his liberation from this material world. So this is Lord Brahma in the 14th chapter, as we will see. He is praying to the Lord that a devotee who constantly takes shelter of the Lord, and even when one is bewildered, he constantly takes shelter. When he is fearful, he constantly takes shelter. When one is in anxiety, constantly takes shelter of the Lord. Because by taking shelter of the Lord, one's fears are gone, one's anxieties are gone, one becomes peaceful and is endued with the love of Godhead. And we simply do this by raising our hand and chanting, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, as one's land, home, wealth, all of his possession are, threatened, then one takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Well, what is the case of a materialist? Materialist is Moho aham mameti. He's constantly thinking I and mine. Everything is focused around I and mine. What is mine and what is, my belongings. So that is the cause. The materialist is constantly bewildered because they are constantly looking at their land, home, wealth and all of their possessions belonging to them, while Lord Kṛṣṇa reveals in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. Bhoktaram yagatapasam. So who is the final benefactor of all the sacrifices?
Kṛṣṇa.
Lord Kṛṣṇa is the Bhoktaram yagatapasam. So when you perform different types of yagyas, you say the word Swaha. Swaha is the wife of Yagya Purusha, and Yagya Purusha is none other than Kṛṣṇa. So you give it to the mother who can deliver it to the father. So this is how a devotee approaches like a child. Sarvalok Maheshwaram. Everything belongs to who? To the Lord. Just like in a kingdom, a king owns he is the true proprietor of all the land. And then if a farmer owns a specific part of the land, so actually that is the part of the land the farmer is owning under the king. So again, the king is the actual owner. So similarly, Lord Kṛṣṇa is the actual owner of all that we possess. And these possessions that we have received is as his gifts to us. And so these gifts should be used they should be purified. And how are they purified? When they are engaged in Krishna's service, when they are constantly engaged in his service, including the time, because he is also time. So now Yashoda Mai, she immediately forgets. When she takes shelter, Kṛṣṇa, seeing this and having exemplified and glorified to us how Yashoda Mai as a devotee is not engaging in argumentative, discussions or looking at it, from, Jnani perspective, from, Vedantist perspective. She immediately takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And at that time, the veil comes back and Yog Maya causes her to forget this incident, what she has seen. And she agrees to this, yes, let this be forgotten, let this not be considered. And this forgetfulness is being exemplified by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as being inspired by the influence of Yog Maya, who is constantly, looking at the instructions, who is constantly following the instruction of Lord Kṛṣṇa. Mohana Sadharmyan Mayam. So it is the Yog Maya who brings back her curtain, and then she is engaged in her motherly mood, taking care of Kṛṣṇa. She is now thinking, oh, how do I protect Kṛṣṇa? So this is mother. She is looking at, she is fearful for her son, Kṛṣṇa, that he would feel pain or in his stomach, or he would feel discomfort because of eating earth, mud. So she is trying to, held him close and is worried about, fearful about him. And in a motherly love manner, she is taking care of Lord Kṛṣṇa as his mother, as his eternal mother. So, hearing this, Parikshit Maharaj, he is feeling the transcendental bliss, yet he is amazed at the fortunate state of Yashoda Mai and Nand Baba. So he is, and in the purport, means again, Shukdev Goswami reveals to him, to Parikshit Maharaj, that actually, and Parikshit Maharaj's question is, who are these personalities? Who are these personalities, Nand Maharaj and Yashoda Mai? His question is that Devaki and Vasudev, they gave birth to Kṛṣṇa, right? So they gave birth to Vasudev Kṛṣṇa, but that is not revealed here, that gets revealed later on, and it's also revealed in Vishnu Puran. And in the purport also it's revealed that, who appears to them is Vasudev Kṛṣṇa, the part of the Naimittika Leela, the occasional pastimes of the Lord. And they were the fathers and mother of Kṛṣṇa, yet at the same time, they did not enjoy the childhood pastimes of Lord Kṛṣṇa. It is Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai. Now, as he's hearing, he's thinking of Nand Maharaj and Yashoda Mai as the foster parents of Kṛṣṇa. Yet at the same time, Shukdev Goswami reveals that these are the eternal father and mother of Kṛṣṇa. And this is where we come to know of two other factors. Which is Nitya Siddhi and Sadhana Siddhi. So, there are two types of Siddhis. And he reveals that the parents of Kṛṣṇa, means again, Nand Baba and Yashoda Mai, they are Nitya Siddhis, while Vasudev and Devaki are part of Sadhana Siddhis. Now, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada does say that they are eternal father and mother of Kṛṣṇa, because when Kṛṣṇa accepts someone as father and mother, they are, he accepts them in that particular mood. And there are two types of perfections. So here he is revealing to Parikshit Maharaj that actually this is Drona and Dhara. So Drona and Dhara, this Drona is different than Dronacharya, who appears as the, teacher of Pandavas and the Kauravas. This is a different Drona. And Drona and Dhara, they came, and when instructed, they revealed to Brahma that we would like to take birth on Bhumi, on planet Earth, where Kṛṣṇa would appear as our son. So this is where they are revealing that they are the eternal parents of Lord Kṛṣṇa. And of them also, Mother Yashoda is more fortunate. So sometimes you have to look at it, that she was constantly with Kṛṣṇa during the Ashtakaliya Leela, during the 8 periods of the day. While Nand Maharaj, he had to leave sometimes to carry out his profession, right? Being a Vaishya king, he had to engage with other cowherd men, and so he had to leave house at various times and come back. Yet Yashoda Mai is more fortunate, even more fortunate than Maharaj, because she is constantly not just feeding milk, but she is constantly with Krishna and engaged with him and taking care of him during the Ashtakarya Leela, during these loving pastimes of Lord Krishna. And also she is the one who is hearing all the complaints about Krishna. She is relishing all the, and she is, trying to understand how Krishna is reciprocating with all these cowherd women who have so much love, and it is the love that is appearing in the form of butter and curd that Krishna is stealing. Krishna is not stealing the materially defined yogurt and butter. He is stealing their love. He is relishing their love towards him. And so Shukdev Goswami reveals, and the Prabhupada reveals to us, that these two types of perfections, which is Nitya Siddhi and Sadhan Siddhi, is Nitya Siddhi is one who is eternally Krishna's associate, and a Nitya Siddhi is an expansion of Krishna's personal body. Whereas the Sadhan Siddhi is an ordinary human being, a Jiva Tattva, who by executing pious activities, by engaging in sadhana, right? So we are sadhakas, engaging in our sadhana, in our regular practice of devotional service, and following the regulative principles of devotional service, we come to the stage of Sadhan Siddhi. And by taking the stage of Sadhan Siddhi, also we are known as, Raganugas, while a Nitya Siddhi is Raghatmika. So that's also a difference. So Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai are Raghatmika. They are all Nitya Siddhis, they are eternal associates of the Lord, while we devotees who are sadhakas, who are the practicing devotees in devotional service, we are sadhan, we are looking to attain Siddhi, perfection through sadhana. And thus, before going back home, back to Godhead, Lord gives us an opportunity to engage us in His pastimes, the occasional pastimes, and then when we engage in these pastimes, then we are finally elevated by the Lord. By His mercy, He allows us entrance in His Ashtakarya Leelas, in the spiritual world, back to Godhead. So again, materialists in this body are constantly bewildered, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also reveals that unless one comes to the devotional service, one cannot be delivered from the miseries of this material world. Because this material world has two characteristics. And what are those characteristics? It is
Dukhalayam Ashashvatam.
Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. Dukhalaya, a place of misery, and Ashashvatam, it is impermanent in nature. While the spiritual world is permanent, it is never destroyed. And there are three levels of destructions. We have covered it in the past and will be covering later on in the 11th canto as the different type of destructions that happen in the material world. But in this material world, the living entities are constantly struggling for existence. And as Lord reveals in Bhagavad Gita, Mame Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Mana Shashtani Indriyani Prakriti Sthani Kashati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Because of conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with 6 senses, which includes the mind. So again, mind is like the leader of the senses. So if we control the mind, then we have already won more than half of the battle. So these struggling living entities, they want to become happy. But unless the living entities take shelter of the devotional service, take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, they would not be happy. So happiness is not possible. And Krishna clearly says that in Bhagavad Gita 9.3. Ashadda dhanaha purushaha dharma yasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartante mrityu sansaravatanani. Those who are not faithful on the path of devotional service cannot attain me or conqueror of foes, but return to birth and death in this material world. So foolish people, they do not understand how risky their life is in this material world. And that if one does not follow the instructions of Krishna, one is constantly bewildered and engaged in doing parishram and foams in the mouth, is bewildered and constantly fearing their existence, and finally dying and repeating in this cycle of birth and death. That's what this Mrityu Lok is called, right? So there is no question of accepting or not accepting Krishna consciousness. It is not an option. People think that it's an option, but for their welfare, it is not an option, because it is the constitutional position of a living entity. Jivera Sarupaya Kṛṣṇa Nityadas. So we are eternal servant of Krishna, and trying to defy that position of us is like, trying to put ourselves in darkness. We are choosing Maya and not choosing Krishna, while in reality there is no choice. But because of the love Lord Krishna has, because He is not wanting us to act like a robot and follow His instructions, He is Bhavgrahi Janadana. He wants to, taste our bhav, taste our love. So He is eager to taste that, and also eager to give us the bliss, the transcendental bliss that removes all kind of anxieties and fill us with the transcendental bliss and happiness. This is what He is seeking. And as explained in Bhagavad Gita, the last lesson that we hear in this particular chapter is we have to learn how to become free from the miserable conditions of this material existence. And based on that, Bhagavad Gita forms the preliminary study. Srila Prabhupada used to say that up to the high school level of study is Bhagavad Gita. And then when you start your undergrad study, that is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And once we have finished our undergrad study, we want to do PhD and graduate level studies, that is Chaitanya Charitamrita. Even further is Chaitanya Charitamrita. And yet at the same time we also understand that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is not different from Krishna. So we are constantly taking shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. And there are these invaluable books, and now if you go to Vedabase.io, you can actually read it online. So sitting at home, it doesn't take any effort. We can just open the book, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and read. This is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam part 1, 10th canto. We can read Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam with other devotees, and we can take the advantage of this opportunity that we have received to constantly engage in devotional service. And again, somebody can say, wait a minute, there are 9 processes of devotional service. Well, in the 11th canto, Shukadeva Goswami adds 2 more, which is reading and writing the scriptures, right? What are the 9 processes? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam.
English.
Shravanam is hearing about the devotees. So again, Parikshit Maharaj, just by hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from Shukadeva Goswami, attains perfection just by one devotion.
Hearing
service.
about?
Lord Krishna. Yes. And so there is a blessing also in this chapter, where the blessing, and then Kirtanam is, chanting of the holy name, reciting Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So Shukadeva Goswami, he attains perfection by Kirtanam. And then Smaranam is Prahlad Maharaj, he had remembrance. Just by remembering the Lord, he attains perfection. Padasevanam, Goddess Lakshmi, and Goddess of Fortune. She attains perfection by serving the Lord. Padasevanam, serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Archanam is Archana. Prithu Maharaj attains perfection by doing the worship of the Lord, by performing the worship, the Archana Vidhi. And then there is Vandanam, the prayers. So as we hear, Akrura attains perfection by reciting prayers to the Lord. And Dasyam, Hanuman, Bhishma, they attain perfection by, by serving the Lord in servitude, like as a Dasya, as a servant. And Sakyam, Arjuna attains perfection by being a friend to the Lord. And Atma Nivedana, the highest level, is attained by Bali Maharaj, by surrendering everything to the lotus feet of the Lord. So simply by doing this, and then in the 11th canto, Shukadeva Goswami reveals 2 more, which is reading and writing about the Lord. So reading about the Lord, reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, is also a form of hearing. When somebody reads, you hear them, and that's also devotional service, by engaging in devotional service. And it simply starts by blissful chanting and meditating on the Lord, by raising our hand and chanting, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa. This is where this chapter ends, and the blessing in this chapter is that one who constantly meditates on the childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna will surely be endued with the devotional service. Hare Krishna. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, निताय गौ प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि।